Welcome to Humanity Unboxed. Michael, lovely to see you with such a beautiful blue skies behind you.
Yeah, we are lucky. It wasn't the whole year was kind of overcasted, but this
Yeah.
now in the fall it's open before the election. It's getting
There's going to be something good
getting
going
from
on.
something good.
Yeah. Well, as I was looking at the planets and the things are going to give us some interesting things in the lead up
Yeah.
to the election on your side.
Hmm.
Yes. So tell me, how's life treating you? It's we still on about energy. We kind of talking about restoring the self, which is very much, I think, autumny, or you guys call it fall, um, kind of coming back, finding rest, going inward, all that stuff. Well, how do you feel about it?
I think what I really got, in my last 3 months that were really hard on me,
Hmm.
I really realized that first of all, our need to survive, our need to survive is air, water,
Michael, we're
food.
losing you a little bit. Oh, so here we go. I'm sure you'll be back. There we go. There you
Okay,
go. We lost you for a second.
so so it's important. What I realized was it's air, water, and shelter. Number three,
Mm,
four is food, because you can about 24 days you can be without food before you die. So
mm,
and then the fifth is right away, which is also not. I love that we bring it up because it's not talked about. Fifth is the community where you feel good. You know because
mm.
I can say, "Oh, I have a house for you in Alaska," and there's a lot of people that love Alaska and have a house there, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be good for me.
Mm,
So you need to have uh, the right environment where you can flourish, as well as having a shelter, a
yeah.
roof over your head, and this
Yeah.
is the essential human thing. And when you don't have the roof over your head, the thing is, it's very hard. You're pushed in fight flight,
Mm,
and it's very hard to get your essence, your one-on-oneness, right? That we
mm.
talk so much. You lose that because you cannot think rationally anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to go back quickly because you're talking about the five things, and it immediately brings me to the five elements,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of brings us back to what is it we need because we are nature. We are connected to those
Yeah,
five
we are
elements.
part of it. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I kind of want to find the pattern because for me, earth would be that grounding, rest, sleep, that kind of thing.
yeah.
We have air, we have fire, which can. I watched an interesting, I think it was a reel somewhere I saw this morning scrolling through how important fire is. And you've
Yeah.
also spoken about hot food and how important, not important, I'm looking for the right word, but how nourishing just having heat, light, it brings all those things. And a fire actually has those colors, that orange and that yellow,
Yeah,
a little bit of red, there's even a
yeah.
little bit of green in there sometimes, um, and a frequency that is really
Hmm.
good for our rest.
Hmm.
On the reel that I was watching, he was talking about how I mean, we still love doing it, sitting around a fire at night, watching the flames, and having conversations and dialogues, and um, and you
That
just,
is over a million years.
yeah,
That's why, and this is what. There's a very good example. This is what I always say, because I was in the restaurant business,
mm,
and I say they totally lost that archetypal uh, gathering of being one-on-one, contributing, telling stories, sitting
mm,
at the fireplace,
mm,
cooking food, sharing food. So it's an essential human ritual. To sit together, eat, and a lot of restaurants have that, totally missed that now. It's about being impressed by the restaurant, being impressed by 7 dishes, and
mm,
not by sharing dishes. The
yeah,
sharing of dishes
mm,
that you have still in the Middle East, where there's
mm,
one plate and everybody sits and eats. And
yeah,
that's so archetypal.
mm,
And we, in the Western world, have systemized it to get more profits, because if I get everybody their own dish, I make more money. And again, that brings us back. It's never enough, no matter what. So
Yeah.
always when we segregates us, and it doesn't bring that sharing, and that, and you wonder why people have such fear of intimacy. We long for intimacy because we are all in the same boat, but at the same time we are very afraid of the intimacy. And if we don't have the nurture of eating, that what you said, that nurture of eating, then it's really hard.
Yeah. And it's such an important part, I realize, in our family life, on just sitting together and being able to catch up and have a meal and cook food and that whole thing. But I just want to go back with you. So we did earth, and we did air, and we did fire. Water obviously is water, and then the fifth would be spirit, which can come back to community as well, or tribe, really, more than community. I don't like that word.
The exchange, the sharing, the exchange, the participating, and it brings us. It's like so simple. I can link everything to the one-on-one is, because when one-on-one talk to each other, what do they talk? What are stories? They are life experiences. And when you share these life experiences, and this is, let's say I had a special thing that affects a lot of people, then my story is shared further, because it affects it touches all the life experiences of other people, and so it becomes a famous story. But if it's not a famous story, I was just on a walk and I met this animal and whatever, nothing. But if it's a story that, say, the animals came to me and they nurtured me and helped me out or saved my life, now that is something that has a bigger story, effect.
Yeah, which is connection, isn't it? So that could be connection to each other through that, or to whatever your beliefs are, whatever you believe in, and to nature. We always come back to nature.
We are part of nature. We cannot.
We are nature,
we cannot segregate from nature, because we are part of nature. I cannot say I'm exploiting all whatever nature has to give, and I just put it on a market and then be not sustainable, whatever. It's always we hurt ourselves. We are not sustainable. We are taking advantage of nature, just taking, and not dancing with nature, because you can take forever from nature, because nature is ever, but you can't just take it, and also you cannot alter it. And every time we alter, I just recently heard somebody, why did it sink? Because humans screwed around with nature, and nature said, no, you can't go. There's a barrier. They mixed the animals with humans, and that was, I don't know if that's true, but just by my feeling, that is, I'm not saying this is what had happened, but I see what we're doing now. The experience is against nature. We fight nature. We said, we change your DNA. We do this. We do that, and it's also a very disrespect for nature. Because it takes billions of years to be what we are today. It's always evolving. That's what I said with the that we don't go to zero. That we go with the
in the spiral kind of
spiral up. The spiral. Fibonacci. It goes up. The movement is up, so you never go down to zero. But we do in systemic-based systems that were created by us. They're linear and binary, and so they go always back to zero. They cannot. So it's like war. It's like system. More and more. It's never enough. Then the system gets then they take the sense of the system, because every system has a noble reason why we have it. For example, somebody takes care of the horses, somebody takes care of the kids. But when it's never enough, because the lifeblood of systems is money, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Then the system is taken over by another system, or it's another system doing what the system cannot do anymore. and then all of a sudden we have takeovers, disruption. I mean, all this stuff, and then we have war because it gets so big, the system, and cannot be sustainable anymore, and it's not made to be. So systems are not made to be worldwide. They're not made to be. They're in your area, and in your area, that system is responsible that every human gets served, not the whole world. And then I select which one gets served and which one doesn't.
Yeah, making it even smaller, though. I had this conversation with another mom yesterday as to how the special education department at the schools are so overwhelmed at the moment because there is no normal. Everybody has got special educational needs because the system no longer caters for the evolving brain or the evolving humanity. I mean, we're teaching our children and working on ourselves as to how do we become and connect more with ourselves, and in the process we move away from these masks and conformity and things that have kept the systems possible to run. And
we know about the education. We know education was made for men, for soldiers, right? To sort soldiers in the Prussian army, 1845. What is it today? It's co-ed. There's women and men. There's not for war industry, but for the business and economy and whatever, living in the system world. And then we have another system world, which is digital world. That's another word. And then, so what is the function of education today? Because it's not just to go and play and in this metaverse of education saying, I was at Harvard and I was there in Oxford and blah, 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 blah. That's like just a thing, and it costs a lot of money. And then the people have to pay back the money. And what for? What can he do in his life? And really what actually the system got us, they sold us human relationships. Because the only thing that really is when you go to an elite college or any college is or higher education, you have connections with humans that help you. Because if you don't have the connections, nothing helps you. And it becomes more and more important, like the octopus movement, that we have all connections and the wisdom seekers and stuff, that you develop personal intimacy with certain people. And then you can say, hey, I don't know anything, but Michaell is a specialist in that. I'm good in something else, and she would ask me, and then I ask her or ask him to help me out.
Or even often it is just that soundboard effect of being in a dialogue or being in a situation where you can expand your voice, listen to your inner wisdom, because I think we all have those answers and those ways. But in society, in this life where there is a lot of flight or fight, or fight or flight or survival and all this
never
stuff,
never enough
never enough. We can't really think straight. So sometimes to just have the ability to be ourselves is enough for us to kind of get to connect to our own wisdom, which is quite strong as well, I think.
It's very important to express, because I always say when you're depressed, you're not expressing yourself. So when you express yourself with art, or your art, not another one, your art, then you can actually really then actually you get balanced into your essence. So when you express yourself, you learn about yourself. You hear yourself talk, and you're learning about yourself. And this is,
and you get to be a channel. I mean, I think any artist knows that it's not just from you.
Never. It's never all from you. It's all set up already, and you just let it through. You can deny your free will. You can say, no, I'm not an artist, which so many people say, which makes me so sad. So many people say, because we are all artists automatically. We just have to open up the channel and creating, and it doesn't need to be system analyzed if that's good art or not. You just have to allow what comes through you on the canvas, in the voice, in acting in whatever. It has to just come through.
Yeah, exactly. Which is difficult when you are in survival, or you kind of have to figure
Yeah,
out ways
yeah,
to fit into these systems and places. And I think that's where a lot of this restoring the self comes in. It's not about finding yourself or creating yourself as much as remembering um,
who
kind of
you are.
who you really are
Yeah,
instead of what you've been told. And in that, I feel there's a lot of stillness necessary, which is
absolutely.
frustrating in a way, because often I have it a lot. There's a lot going on in my head, and to express or translate what is happening, or what you are um, kind of stewing on, or coming up for you, sometimes lets it gets lost. But it's still yours. You know what I mean? It's kind of a
I have to write down everything because
yeah,
otherwise I don't. I would get lost. With the neurodiversity, I don't remember names or whatever. So if I
mm,
don't write down everything, um, I wouldn't document anything of me, and I wouldn't have anything to say. I mean, I would have something to say, but
yeah,
and I forget it, and I don't want to forget it because it's really good stuff that comes in through me or through
yeah,
us. It
yeah,
comes good. There's good stuff that comes in because
mm,
I don't hear. I don't hear conversations like us. It's very
mm,
rare. I hear a lot of conversation. They're personal, but it's
yeah,
personal anecdotes. They're not like we are really pushing the envelope and just being in the moment and talk.
mm,
Where most people are prepared and they have certain things that they're referring. I'm telling that story with the bicycle. I'm telling
mm,
this stuff. I'm telling what I read yesterday and whatever. So it's also a copy. And I found
mm,
very interesting with art creation that the copying of art creation um, was is really dangerous. Because art doesn't require to copy. It
mm,
doesn't require that you create a portrait the same way I create a portrait. It doesn't
mm,
demand that, but systemically it demands that. And I
mm,
find that you know, and then we say, why is Basquiat so good, and why is thing? So Basquiat was totally essentially in the moment. He peed on a painting. He was heroin drug. He was he was totally in, and the energy of that freshness, of that uniqueness, is
mm,
that what draws people in,
mm.
not that he copies somebody else. Not
Yeah,
that he's think. And I think you when you copy things,
mm,
uh, it's to get even in, you already condition yourself. So if I go to this famous schools here, art schools, I go to the art school and I learn how to do computer uh, animation, right?
mm,
So I'm
yeah,
already conditioned in animation. How would my animation look in for me? That is
mm,
never the question. It's just like you do Disney animations first, and this and Pokemon, and you try to do something similar, and it's already copying. Versus
mm,
how would Michelle's uh, animation look like?
yeah,
All
yeah,
spirals that interact and dance.
yeah. Probably.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that would be very interesting for me. That would be fresh. That wouldn't be just like another Pokemon. That would be
yeah.
something fresh.
Oh, but that brings me to something. I think you kind of touched on it the other day in a message you sent me, and I was like, this is something that's been stewing for me as well, as to the audience. I know we've spoken about this,
Yeah,
especially from Rick Rubin's perspective when we were
yeah,
talking about his book and stuff like that. But if we look at the reels, for example, or the shorts, what do they call them, on
yeah,
YouTube, that are trending.
yeah.
What bullshit is this? I mean, really. And then you look at the kind of deeper, more thoughtful content, and they don't have all of that, kind of audience or attention or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And there's this space in between. Like, we don't want to go there. We don't want to
Yeah.
make that stuff because we don't need that audience. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't need an audience in any case, but
It's all
yeah.
the form. The form is, I know one. We both know one thing that has 6,000 followers, and it's 20 to 40 people at the meetings. I know one that has 1,200 followers and has 500 people every week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's not, how can you have 500 thing with 1,200 viewers every week? Every Sunday you have to 500 people. How can that be? And how can somebody else that has 7,000 people only get 20 or something?
Well, that's it. Hi, John. John has joined us again.
Hi.
It's always so great to have John with us. Well, this is the case, and I think John has also brought this up with me a couple of times. Kind of, we can't change our voice to find a bigger audience because then we lose our voice.
Exactly. We lose our one-on-oneness. You
Yeah.
have to be one-on-one. And this is very, very important. Nature gave us to be one-on-one, right? Nature, not me, not you decide, I want to be one-on-one. Nature. The reason why we are one-on-one in nature is we are relevant. Because we are not, there's no way that we can say we are irrelevant. We don't exist. A lot of people say, oh, we don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't exist. And so when we exist, we have a purpose, and it's most aligned with the one-on-oneness. See, it's express yourself in a way, whatever you get in, if you need to sit in a corner and just watch, that is your one-on-oneness.
Yeah.
And that has a function. And we always look at the form. Your one-on-oneness has a function, and it's done by nature. And if you cannot go against nature and says, no, she has no function, she's lazy. That's a system thing. So you do whatever you feel like doing is the best that it represents you. So I'm not going to go in the Himalayas and start and meditate in a thing, because that's not me. But I would never tell another person not to go in the Himalayas and meditate in a hole there. I would never say that. And it wouldn't even come in my mind even close to say, you shouldn't do that. No. If you,
And on the same side, you wouldn't tell someone they have to go live in Laguna Beach because that's the best thing to do, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I feel that's kind of the general feed that I'm getting. It's like, you have to do this thing because you have to find your purpose, and you have to do that thing because you have to, I don't know, whatever it is. Everybody knows the answers.
You have set it up anyway. You have set it up what happens to your life. You can choose to make it easier or harder, but you've set it up to get more about shame, to get more about being wealthy, to get more about having lovers, to get more about this. And you wanted to experience that experience. And when you segregate from this, we segregate from nature. Whatever happens, it's not fun what I go through, but I learn so much. And I because I'm not looking at it, I need something else. I want this, I want that. No, I just go through day by day what happens. And that's what makes me able to even talk to you. Because 20 years ago, I couldn't even talk to you. I would have been so nervous with the neurodiversity, fight, flight, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be able. But now I can be literally the last day of where I know how to survive, and I can go on television and talk.
Yeah. And that's a lot in, I suppose, that restoring the self, kind of knowing that it's going to be okay. But I'd love to kind of explore the wealth version of life. It would be nice to break the patterns and to move through them, because I think there's a lot of energetics involved as well, to embrace the new stuff, and let go of the old stuff, so that we don't repeat these patterns, so that they do stay spirals and not
Not
circles.
circles. The circle
Yeah.
is the worst. It's just
Yeah.
it's just that now we have to start over again, and the systems always make you to circle. It says, okay,
Even yeah.
you are a millionaire if you take my course, and then you are not taking the, and then take the course, and it didn't
It's
get you
still
a
not enough.
dime, right? And
Because
then
you're not good enough because you didn't do it right.
and then
Yeah.
obviously you are not good enough, not the system. So it's
Mm.
always the system always blames the humans. So
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
mean,
But even the infinity symbol is a closed loop,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. So that's also a system. That's also a there's no enough because it's just going to go around again.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it is a different. There's a different perspective in the infinity because it's ultimately, yeah. Ultimately, life is an infinity. You cannot gain or lose energy. You can just transform. And I think
Mm.
that's in the infinity. It's not the circle that brings us always to zero. The infinity can also be uh, in the Fibonacci. You know, it can infinity
Mm.
of growing more. Always, you have ups and downs, sinus waves. You know, you have ups and downs,
Mm.
and you gain in general because nature gains. Nature is totally sustainable. I mean,
Yeah.
that we become the humans that we are was 6 billion years to become the human from, a one celler to a human,
Mm.
and we just pushed that away and said, "Who cares?" We know better because we are just in a dot of a second there, and said, "No, we reinvent the wheel." No,
Mm.
the wheel is the wheel. Let the wheel be the wheel. You know,
Yeah. There's
invent
other
something
to,
else.
yeah, other things to spend your energy on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I'm still not sure about the infinity symbol. I think it's a systemic symbol.
I
um,
don't know if it is. I think
yeah.
infinity was before systems. I think.
Yeah. Well, the symbol. I mean, the concept definitely.
Yeah.
But the it's almost bringing it back to thinking we know the answers because we know that infinite, goes
But
in
it's the
wherever.
energy. It's the
But
energy that
yeah,
moves.
it's the
I
yeah.
think the affinity is the energy move. And the circle is, it's like the clock. It goes always to zero, always to zero. But
Mm.
the infinity is how the energy moves. It's not
Yeah.
what the outcome is. See, that's why I
Yeah.
said that. It's not what
Mm.
the outcome is zero. But in a circle, we know it's going round and round and round. And there's
Yeah.
nothing different.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the restoring the self is to kind of keep that energy moving and realizing that we just we change form, but we still present in our energy, however that works.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out, or we will remember again at some point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is super interesting. But what was the context we talked about? We were about the energy, right? We were talking about
Yeah.
how,
So we're
yeah. So
talking about kind of restoring the self and this energy and stillness and regeneration.
yeah,
Um, it's kind of a movement,
yeah. But it
which
fits all together. What you said is fits all together. It's the infinity. It's like the seasons, right? It's
yeah.
up and down, sinus wave, and
Mm,
and when you see that in life, you don't take in it. See, because it's never enough.
mm,
This is perfect. What comes in, if it's never enough, it has to always grow. it,
mm,
it, it has to always be more, not grow. Grow is exponential.
yeah.
It has to be more. Is linear. It has to be. You made $10. You need to make 20. You may think, and that forces us to not have seasons. That forces us not to have time. That forces us, work day and night.
Yeah.
That it's totally the inhumanity of the things. But we know that, and then we prove at the same time that play is the highest form of creativity, right? So
Yeah.
we prove scientifically that everybody is 101, but
Mm,
then we pivot over and say, no, we are all woman, man, race, sexuality, blah blah blah. and that's segregating us, and it actually destroys our one-on-one growth. We are not growing as the one-on-one and saying, I want to know more who's Michaell, what Michaell does. I want to know, the satisfaction of, I want to see what Michaell does in the physical, what Michaell does in the physical, who we are in that,
Yeah.
and how we
even,
take.
yeah, and even for ourselves, I'm listening to this book about do less and about cycles, and how freeing it is to find your individual cycle. As women, we cycle with the moon usually, like our cycles work with that. But men do that whole cycle in a day, while women do it in a month. So the I don't know what the right word is, patriarchal, I suppose, something. Intention is to have things happen on a daily basis, where for women it doesn't work like that. We have it stretched out because we're more in touch with our intuition and things like that, which isn't tangible. You can't see it, and you can't necessarily make money of it either. So it becomes useless in a society that is focused on more instead of deeper, I suppose. It's up instead of down first.
That's why for every one homeless woman, you have 9 homeless men, because they fit into that system narrative of linear and working harder. And also what kills them now is that there's more single homeowners women in America. There is more women in universities, and guys at 50 give up usually, because it's almost impossible without any funds to create wealth or to create something that you can retire. So when you have no funds, it's almost impossible, because and because also men a lot, that linear thing shifted from contributing to
We're losing you again, Michael.
pay itself to work. I have to manipulate money. That I make more money by manipulating money, making money with money, versus making doing a job for $16.
Yeah, but also attaching my identity to the money or to the value of
of course,
of the physical, which
in the old days I could hunt, right? I could hunt and bring something home. I could
build a shelter.
But now I have to bring home money.
Yeah,
if I'm the masculine supporter or the thing of the family, I have to bring home the dough. And if I can't do it, that's why you have such a high suicide rate too. People just can't do it in the normal way from nature, where they're made for something. Being a blacksmith, being this, they're made to do something. Be an artist, being this. No, it doesn't matter what you can. Your ability doesn't count. It's important that you bring home money. And the more money you have, the more valuable you are.
That's it. Also, your place in the tribe no longer exists. So your value isn't shown by the people around you. There's no one that goes, oh, Michael is the blacksmith. I can always trust him to look after that for me, or whatever it is. So that sense of belonging is also missing. And then we have society, or I don't know, whatever we want to call them, media, that love bombarding us with fear, because then the government,
then they get attention.
Yeah.
It's really I found also that because of it's never enough, that it pushes us away from the one-on-oneness. Because if it's never enough, systems have to generalize, and when they generalize, it's anti-human. Actually, the whole it's never enough, which is the lifeblood of systems. It's not our lifeblood, it's our spirit. You and I can talk, we get happy and blah blah blah, or we get sad together. It's just we don't need to have money to be either, So the system's lifeblood is money, and when that is when that rules everything, then you also, it's never enough. So the systems have either to scale and be big, or they have to shrink the costs. And when they shrink the costs, the humans suffer because the quality is not as good, the effectiveness is not as good, the intent why we created the system is not as good. And that's why that's why you and I are so for updating systems to the 101ness, so that it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and to create that awareness that we are one of one, but
Exactly.
that we're also nature, and that we can function outside of the systems.
Exactly.
We can thrive even.
Every system is it's irrelevant. Every system without humans, without even if we have no systems, we will suffer, but we will make it again. We will create it again. Even the AI.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you, Black Dot Cafe.
Thank you, Black Dot Cafe in Laguna Beach, for being a Wi-Fi sponsor, and also Nikki Stewart from the Wi-Effect, who is our StreamYard sponsor. So you see, tribe is always there.
Our tribe gets bigger and bigger.
That's what I love. I love bigger and bigger tribes, and understanding different aspects of the parts of the tribes.
Exactly.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Have an amazing day. We will chat again next week.
Yeah. Thank you.